Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestle Plug podcast. Another interview on tap, and it's a return for us because, of course, we have in the building once again the history maker, the main events, the current reigning and defending behind closed doors pro wrestling heavyweight champion of the world. It's Roger by name, Roger by nature. Roger Sears is back on the Wrestle Plug. How do you like that, pal?
What an introduction.
Yeah. We sell our talents properly here, mate. Rog, ever since you were last on, you've been quite busy. So the great thing about this podcast is we don't have to talk about all the, the boring stuff. When did you start wrestling? Who's your favorite wrestler? We've done all that. And obviously, if you'd like to check that out, you can go back through the archives and check out Roger's podcast. I highly suggest you do so. So for Roger Sears Part 2, we're going to zone in on what you've been doing since. And obviously, you were a champion last time you were on. Champion. Just quickly, what happened to that belt that you used to carry? It seems to have gone walkies and ended up on somebody else.
Wrestled for Pride and Honor Wrestling, organized by Jensen Ryan, in honor of Pride, and I wrestled Sensational Simon. I won. And he's run off with the belt, and that's the story. He's run away with the belt.
He's pretty desperate, and he's like a homeless man. He was always the homeless accountant and the knobs. You always got to let's be real, mate. You knew you were never going to win a belt, so you stole Rogers. Some might say it's a blessing in disguise, but that's neither here nor there. But as you can probably tell in the background of Roger's delightful abode, he now is in, shall we say, he's retaining the BCD Heavyweight Championship. You're the first BCD Heavyweight Champion. BCD behind closed doors started, of course, just a few months ago. They've had 2 shows, Breakout and Boys of Summer. Successfully captured the belt of Breakout and then retained it successfully against the Conqueror Ajax at Boys of Summer. Yeah, as a point of pride, I remember watching you after the match at Breakout. You seemed very emotional, it was quite a big moment for you. Would you say this is like the pinnacle of what you've done so far as a wrestler?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Well, with winning the Savage title, because it had always been like a dream that I was going to be a champion in wrestling from when I was a kid. That was the dream. And when I won the Savage title, it was. No, I'm trying to be as nice as I can in saying this, but it felt so flat because it was filmed without an audience there, and it almost completely killed the moment for me of actually winning my first title. It just didn't feel how I expected it to when I was a kid. So, when the BCD one came about and I actually won it with all due respect to Savage, because I'm in front of a crowd and stuff, it actually really did feel like this is my first big title that I've won. And because of from when I've been 10 years old and now I'm 42. So, this is 32 years of dreaming about winning a title. And then that moment actually happens. I was really quite overcome with emotion. I mean, if you watch it back, you actually see when I'm handed the belt and I lean my head on the belt and I'm wrapping the strap around the back of my head and I'm just there going, for God's sake, don't cry, don't cry. You're supposed to be the heel, don't cry. And so there were some tears when I got backstage. It was quite emotional, but they were happy tears,
Yeah, people don't realize how hard Roger works to be a professional wrestler. Like, he's not one of these Johnny come latelys who trains once a month or whatever. Like, Roger trains 3 or 4 times a week, works incredibly hard. He'll take any booking as well. which is very admirable. As you know, I certainly wouldn't take some of the bookings you've taken, but that's neither here nor there. Like, hey, it's on me. It's not on you. Don't worry about it. Yeah, with all due respect to Savage, it's not a proper title. I'm sorry, but it's not. And it's not because, there aren't good wrestlers there, because there obviously are. There's a number of actually very talented people who work in that company. But like you say, when you're not working in front of an audience, that really nullifies the premise of it. And we saw just how, watered down and how unhappy the process of watching WWE in front of those TV screens as opposed to a live audience was. And that's WWE. So, Savage had no chance in that regard. But yeah, I mean, coming out of the pandemic, if you're still working in front of no audience, bit stupid if you ask me, to be honest. That's just my opinion personally. But so yeah, we'll zone in on that. So BCD, there's no getting around it, has a lot of hype and a lot of reputation based on its promoter, based on some of the members of staff that are there. When you're picked to work for you, I don't think it was ever really a doubt in your mind, but was there a doubt in your mind about working for BCD? Were you concerned, if I work for this might alienate my opportunities elsewhere?
I don't think there was ever really much of a doubt that I was going to do it. Obviously initially it was supposed to be like a family and friends only thing. Then a decision was made to actually just go with it and open it up to everyone, open it up to the whole public so anyone could come along to it. And I'd kind of agreed to do it on the basis that I believed it was just family and friends thing. So I had to think about it a little bit more then. And to be fair, there's one particular promoter I did ask, I contacted before and said, look, I'm going to do it. Not if I do it, will it? It's like, I'm going to do it. Is that going to be a problem for you booking me going forward? I won't go mention the promoter's name, but with respect, they said to me that at the time, no, they know me well enough as a person, as a character, that they'd still use me. Other things happened down the line that have kicked off more problems, and then the situation changed, and they were like, well, we'd have to keep you off our shows for a while because of all the backlash until things die down. But with respect to this guy, he was straight up with me. He was honest with me about it. He's treated me with respect. He's got no personal issues with me. It's just he's doing what he believes is best for his business, and I respect that. That's fine. But yeah, I do feel a lot of commotion was made about it prior to it happening. And I think there might be a fair few people out there with a bit of egg on their face because they fully expected it to, I don't know, implode. I don't know what they were expecting, but I don't think they're expecting us to actually do very well with it. And instead, actually, as you've seen with our two shows, we've had really good crowds for them. So yeah, I think some people are probably shitting on BCD purely because they now kind of look a bit foolish for thinking we were just going to fall flat on our faces and all the backlash would kill us, and it hasn't. So
yeah, no, if anything, it's actually been very successful. First show drew really well. Second show drew much better than the first as well. The quality of wrestling has been very strong as well, I believe. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree. Thing is, right, we could have, honestly, the reincarnation of Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels in an Iron Man match on our show, and people are like, yeah, but it's BCD, so it's shit. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. Sad little trolls and, sad little people on the internet. That's just the way it is. But that was the thing that sort of stood out to me when I took the booking was it's all on the internet. It's all bollocks. Like most of what you see on the internet, most of what you see on social media isn't real. It's really not. And this thing of like, I love how people are in uproar and outraged about it, but then they're quite happy to just let it slide that there are convicts on other promotions. There are convicted rapists on other promotions. That to me just screams double standards. And it's that thing of, okay, that's fine. Well, then if you're going to show those kind of traits, I'm not going to respect your opinion as much. I absolutely respect there are certain people that don't want to work for the company. That's absolutely fine. But as far as I'm concerned, I make a judgment of myself. And also it's that thing of, okay, who in their right mind thinks Roger Sears is a bad person? Roger Sears, the human being, right? if you think Rod is a bad person, then you are quite frankly fucking stupid. So you don't know anything, which is fine. But it's that thing of if you're going to then say you're a piece of shit just because you work at that company, but he's not. He's just not. That doesn't change the fabric of who we are and who we are made up as characters. And that's something that Ebenezer spoke about when he was on the podcast as well. There's another guy who, you know, is very popular with a lot of these people who are shitting on BCD, and yet they don't seem to have a problem chatting to him, you know, coming along to his shows, maybe having him on their shows. So, you know, for me, it just smells of hypocrisy. And, you know, it's that thing of if it's really, really that bad, why are you talking about it? That's how I always look at it. If something's really shit, for instance, as we know, I'm not Mr. Popular with certain people. That's fine. But if I'm really, really that shit, why are you talking about me? Surely you would want to spend so much more of your energy doing something else, because I'm not talking about you unless it gets brought up in front of me. That's just the way I look at it. So we'll leave it there. As far as obviously, you know, Jay Knox being involved, and obviously Jay Knox has been intrinsically linked in your career. There's no way of getting around that. And it's not like we can pretend he hasn't, because you can just fucking Google it. It's right there. You know, we've seen you on Fight Star shows. You were one of the best referees in the country. And now you're, you know, well on your way to being one of the more respected wrestlers in the country. What's your personal feelings working with Jay Knox? Have you enjoyed the process of working with him since you started at BCD?
Yeah, I have.
Yes.
Yeah, there's not really an awful lot else to say about it. Obviously, I've known him for a very, very long time. From when I started training. So I mean, if we want to get into the subject of talking about him, that's fine. I don't mind.
I mean, we don't have to personally if you don't want
fine.
to.
No, I'm happy to. It's fine.
One thing I did want to ask was, what was it like working his second ever match back, you know, after, you know, for so long out? He had quite a few years out, didn't he? And obviously we all know what's, you know, gone on with Jay and stuff like that. But from a purely professional standpoint, you're in the ring with him in the main event of the first show, along with Tara and Tyler Roberts, who we're going to talk about as well, because, you know, fantastic young man in his own right. How did you feel in there? You know, I assume it was all safe as houses and things like that, but, you know, maybe the people who haven't seen it, or maybe the audience who are not interested in seeing it, might like to know what the process was like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% safe. Absolutely no problems whatsoever. I didn't fear for my safety at any point during the match or prior to it. But then I know Jay on a more personal level than quite a lot of other people out there. In fact, the majority of people who want to shit all over him don't know him anywhere near the level that I do. So, no, there are absolutely no problems with it. He was nothing but professional in the ring with me. It's probably good that it was his second match, because he'd managed to get all of that hype and anxiety and everything out of his system with the first match he had with Ebenezer early in the night. But yeah, there was still some, I don't know, not so much anxiety in him, just he was good nervous energy, I think is what, you know, prior to us going out there. And yeah, there's a point at the start. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this. Is this all going to be in kayfabe? Can I reveal lots of secrets?
No, I mean, it's like semi, like, you know, like people know full well what's going on behind the scenes most of the time anyway.
So
Roger still hates you, by the way, if you are watching. Like, he still hates you. Even when he's being nice, he still hates fans. Saying that to me before the podcast started, he was like, you know, we'll mix it up a little bit, but let's just make it very clear. Everyone who comes to Parkstone is a fat, sweaty mark. All right? Not my words, his words, but you know.
Oh,
Remember, I'm the master of manipulation.
Yeah.
Bring him in.
So there's that point just before the match started, that triple threat, and you see me and Jay come head to head with each other, and he's looking really aggressive, and I'm almost laughing in his face. And literally what we'd said to each other, he's gone to me, "I love you, bro," and I've gone, "I love you too, bro," and we then proceed to beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah, you love to hear it. Like, yes. I genuinely thought you were going to kiss. I was like, "Oh, I kiss." I'll do it. Like, now that'll fucking set them amongst them, won't it? Like, what are they going to say about that? You know? Now that would have been an advertisement for behind closed doors if I've ever heard of one. Um, it's a fun match. It's available on the Wrestle Plug YouTube. I highly recommend people check it out. I know you might have seen little snippets of it while I've been talking about it, but yeah, check it out in full. It's an interesting match. Make up your own mind. That's what I would say to people. Make up your own mind. Have your own opinion. You know, be a fully grown adult and just kind of, like I say, make these assessments for yourself because that's what real life's about. If you believed literally everything that somebody tells you about somebody, well, you'd be here a long time. Let's be honest, you'd be a very, very long time. So obviously, not just obviously Jay and everything around BCD, but you've now picked up this young. Well, we say young man, but he's massive. So, towering Tyler Roberts, 6'7", 300 pounds. He aligns himself with you at this show. And obviously, in the real world, of course, the shoot world, obviously he's somebody who's going to be looking to learn a lot from you, kayfabe and shoot, I suppose, in many ways. What's it like having somebody, because for most of your career, all of your career that I've watched, you've always been on your own. So now you've got this huge, menacing, like bodyguard who's also got a bloody good mouth on him. He made his debut at that same show, wrestled twice, and of course wrestled in that main event, aligning himself with you for the BCD Championship. At this stage of your career, is it quite fun and quite challenging to take on board somebody who's completely fresh to the business and help mold them in the correct direction of, how to behave and how to carry themselves?
Yeah. You see, at first I thought I don't know how keen I am on the idea. I was really quite happy on my own. And since we've done it, you've not seen an awful lot of us promo wise. I mean, you'll see obviously us engaging with each other on the shows, but we've had a few fun ideas, and it is quite fun actually. And I take that with a bit of pride of having somebody like you say learning from me. I take a bit of pride in that as well. So anything I can do to help people come along, because that's what this should be about, really. There's far too many people who've got this bit of jealousy crap of other people. I see somebody coming along and think because they're younger, better looking, more athletic, and there's just this jealousy and almost how can I hold them down almost mentality from some people. But I don't buy into that at all. I think you really have got to help other people come along. We're a brotherhood after all, so.
Yeah, he looks good as well. Considering he's only had 4 matches, he already looks very, very capable. What's it like for you watching him? Like, what are the things that really stand out to you when you're looking at somebody who's, this early on in their career? Are there particular things that you're looking for him to improve upon? And also, what really stands out to you already with him that you think that's what's going to make you a mainstay in British professional wrestling?
You said it quite well about his gift of the gob. He's very vocal out there, which is a good sign, especially for his heel persona that he's doing. Just how massive he is going to give him such an edge. Because like Enzo said, you can't teach that. So
big fan of Enzo Amore.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, a lot of people might look at you two as like a much more like, I don't know, a little bit more of like an indie-rific version of Enzo and Cass.
A little more serious, I think.
A little bit more serious. Much more serious, as to be said. Taron Tyler Roberts, well on his way. Really exciting start. Another guy to check out. So, obviously, we've spoken about BCD ad nauseum. One final thing. What's it like being trusted as the first champion? How does that feel? That must be a massive badge of honor for you. But, because you were, obviously, when ACW was around, before it kind of somewhat merged, amalgamated into BCD in many ways, obviously with different guys. But, when ACW was around, you were also entrusted with the first title match. I know that Scott Jones obviously won, but you guys had a fantastic little rivalry. And it was that thing of, in both companies back to back, you were entrusted with an extremely important spot. But in this one, the most important spot, which is actually carrying the belt for the first time. Is that nerve-wracking at all? Does that make you anxious? Does that make you nervous? Or is it something that you just think, no, it's a badge of honor, and I'm just going to run with it.
Yeah, it's the latter. I kind of thrive on it, actually, that pressure. Um, and whenever we have a show coming up, I feel it's not so much pressure, but a responsibility to cut a promo that kind of says to everybody else, this is the level you've got to get to if you want to be, the person taking the title. And then when you get to actually having the matches, I want to be putting on the matches that everybody can watch and go, shit, yeah, that's the kind of level of performance I've got to be putting in. So yeah, I kind of thrive on the pressure. I sees more as a responsibility to kind of set the example for everyone of like, this is the level, you've got to get at to be able to be the guy in my shoes. Because with the greatest of respect to everybody else there, I don't think there's anybody else who's ready to step up to it yet.
Yeah, I agree as well. I do agree. I think you were the perfect choice, the only choice. I made that very clear to management as well. And I think it was very important to have somebody with your experience and also your calmness. A lot of people, even people who've been in the business for a long time, they get away from themselves. They get too excited in the moment. And you seem to be very measured in the way you carry yourself. There's a lot to admire about the way you work, the style in which you work, and the way you carry yourself. So it's that thing of, oh, okay, so here we are. We have the main event, the history maker Roger Sears, the first ever BCD champion. When these guys are ready, is it a case of you would like to personally hand pick a successor? Or I know you're Mr. Professional, so obviously whoever the boss man says, drop it to, you're going to. But at the same time, from a shoot standpoint, would you like to have more of a say in how it goes and obviously storylines, because you get a relative amount of creative control, I assume, when it comes to BCD?
Yeah, I do. I'd like to very much be involved in the discussion when it comes to talking about who's going to take the title from me. But like you say, ultimately, whether I like it or not, whoever it is decided, even if I don't like it, I might kick up a bit of a fuss and have a bit of a sulk about it, but I'll just go out there and do the job that's asked of me to do. I won't always agree with everything that is put in front of me storyline wise, but you know, it's not me running the company. It's not my decision to make. That's somebody else's, and you have to respect that they're making the decisions that they believe are in the best interests of their company, and you're working for them. So, but yeah, ultimately, if I'm fortunate enough to, I'd like to have some kind of a say and at least be involved in the discussion when it comes back to time to talk about who to drop the title to.
Do you feel like you should be getting more bookings at this point in your career?
Um, to
Like,
be
are you
honest,
happy with what you've got? I know you've wrestled for IWE, you've done the Pride shows, which look like, they could possibly build momentum. You've done Savage. I know you've appeared on Outcast before. There's a number of different promotions that you've worked, but in terms of regular booking, I see you predominantly at BCD, IWE. But I also believe that you should be wrestling for a lot more companies. Is it a case of um, you just haven't bothered to kick down as many doors yet, or do you feel maybe there's like a bit of a chip on your shoulder where it's like, okay, like having the BCD Championship, knowing that that company has a bit of a vaunted reputation, you're going to prove that actually my work rate can stand alone with everyone else. And then at that point, if people still don't use me, that's a they problem, not a me problem.
you kind of summed it up with that last bit, to be fair. Yeah, maybe I could be trying to kick down some more doors and get people to take notice of me, but the stage I'm at in my life, the age I am, and having the family, I'm not looking to be going here, there, everywhere, it'd take too much time away from my family. I'm only going to be able to do this for a certain amount of years, being 42 already. So I just want to do it for as long as I can, and if that means doing it on a reduced level and not getting bookings here, there, and everywhere, then so be it. But at the same time, I also, once all of this shit kicked off about BCD, and there were people really opposed to it, and I'd heard people talking about anybody who works one of those shows will never work on one of our shows, and to that end, I've kind of gone, well, belt's being put on me, so that may be me fucked going and working anywhere else. But at the same token, it's like, but I don't need to. I don't need to go working anywhere else because it's not like that's what I'm chasing. That's not the dream I'm chasing. It's I want to go as long as I can. And if people don't want to book me, that's their choice. If you don't want to, I just kind of consider it right now that the less amount of bookings I have, the more benefit it's going to be to BCD and the longer I'll be able to do this for. So relatively happy with where I'm at now. I wouldn't be turning things down. I would consider anything if anybody wants to book me for anything, but it's like I say, just where I'm at in my life, it's not something that I'm going to go out and actively chase after.
Your next opponent at BCD Into the Fire is Ebenezer the Geezer. Shock, or well, I've replaced him on this graphic, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
off. Yeah, like it's going to be me, god damn it. No idea who this gimp is with the wind hat, but it is what it is. So yeah, and I couldn't help but notice that Tyron Tyler Roberts is lurking in the background, lurking like a beast. Yeah, he is your big cast. So yeah, this is a chance for you to run it back. You wrestled him before. You've also been in multi-man matches with him as well. So obviously, BCD Into the Fire is 22nd of July, Parkstone Trades and Labour Club. Anyone who wants to buy a ticket, scan the QR code, which is up on the screen for the entirety of this podcast, or head to the description. Buy your tickets. If you buy them in advance, £6. If you buy them on the door, £10, which is still a bargain. But obviously, save yourself a bit of coin. Get yourself a nice little pre-sale. Come and enjoy yourself. It's a very safe environment, by the way, and we look after all of our fans. So you face Ebenezer the Geezer once again. This time around, main event, BCD Championship on the line. I've been told that it's not a heavyweight championship; it's just BCD Championship. So I'll get yelled at if I keep saying heavyweight championship. Just seems like there's too many vanilla midgets in this business, but that's not my problem. Get yourself a cruiserweight belt, you tight ass. But yeah. So here we are, the main championship, and it's Ebenezer again. Now, first time you worked him in a singles match, I believe, was IWE earlier this year, and obviously that was when he announced his cheeky little retirement tour because he's a hot dog and he's got to be on the camera at all times. Ebenezer, by his own admission, is a character-based wrestler. He is predominantly a man who is going to bring charisma, entertainment. He's one of the funniest and most charismatic people we know. But he's not a magnificent wrestler. He's okay. It's not horrible. He's not fantastic either, by his own admission. Does that change the build and the sort of the general consensus of how you look at that match? Do you feel that you need, because ultimately your strength lies in being a far more technically sound, fundamentally sound wrestler with a slightly maniacal, psychotic edge. So for you, is it the perfect contrast, or do you feel like you need to change what you're doing to complement him? Because as we know, the greatest champions are the ones who can bring anyone up to their level.
I feel I'm probably going to have to switch things up a little bit. But I don't think I've got to deviate too far away because I do feel that the characters can mesh quite well and pull something pretty decent off. I thought we had a reasonably good match at IWE. I'm looking forward to building on that and having something even better at BCD, something that is fitting of being a main event match. So yeah, I do feel our characters will probably be able to play off each other quite well. I think I can be that serious heel to his more comedic antics. And I think it can work quite well. Just there might be a few little tweaks I might need to make just to kind of really make things run smoother or add a bit more edge to it.
Is it nice wrestling somebody who's slighter than you, smaller than you, as opposed to larger than you? You wrestled Ajax last time out, very hard-hitting affair, very physical. And then obviously this time around, you're facing somebody a lot skinnier. Some might argue he looks a bit like a twink. That's neither here nor there. Just riding it up, baby. Just riding it up. I don't have to care. I'm not going to be there. So hopefully, you never know. You never know. I might be there. I might not. Haven't been booked yet, so you never know. But it's that thing of obviously he's much smaller. Do you find it easier to wrestle smaller guys, bigger guys? Are you not bothered?
I'm not bothered actually. I think you can find, and if you're good enough, you can find a way to work with anyone, regardless of what size they are. You can find a way to make the match work. So, no, I enjoy the challenge of there being different sized people that you've got to work against and figure out the ways you can make a match work with them. So, yeah, it honestly makes no difference to me, the size of my opponent. It really doesn't.
Um, Talk to me about the history maker, as I've coined it, the super kick that you use now as a finish. What necessitated? You've always had a super kick in your locker, but I never feel like you've used it predominantly as a finisher until now. You had your, I don't know what you call your submit. Do you have a name for your submission
I
finish?
haven't named for it at all, no, and I haven't. I mean, I've not used it an awful lot. It was mainly in ACW, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I tried to establish it before we did the championship tournament, and then use it in the tournament. Um,
Still in
yeah,
your
it kind
locker
of
though, isn't it?
it just kind of went a little bit by the wayside. I think I just preferred the super kick because the super kick, I always feel the best finishers are the ones you can hit on anyone out of anywhere. And yeah, I just love the move actually as well. And it should be a
Young Bucks,
finisher.
Mark. That's what I'm hearing.
No, 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 no. It should be a finisher, not a hit 100 times in a match. You know, you're being kicked in the head. That should literally be a knockout blow. So
Certainly
yeah,
was in the case of Ajax. You crushed his
it,
skull.
yeah.
Yeah. We all enjoyed a bit of that, didn't we? Sent him packing right back to the island. Go on, get back on the ferry. Off you go. Send him back on a gurney. Um, yeah, no, you've already dispatched Jay Knox a number of times, as to be said, with a super kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've dispatched Ajax. Um, so obviously, I mean, let's be honest. If you hit Ebenezer with it, he ain't getting up. He's just not. No, he's not built to last. Please, yeah, he's back. Yeah, he's back carrying Frankie T. So of course he can't handle a super kick, a history maker. Is it something you want to stick with for the rest of your career? You like the fact you think you're zoned in now with the super kick as a finisher?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, because it'll work whether you're a heel or a face. So even if somewhere down the line I was the term face, it still works as the same finisher. I can't really see myself going for anything else, or at least not at the moment anyway. That could change, but I'm very happy with using this and quite settled with it at the moment.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Right. Time for question time with Roger Sears, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
So, some individuals have sent some questions in, starting, of course, with the nefarious Jay. I'll leave it up to you as to which one it is. What would you say has been the biggest influence on your career so far?
Oh my God. Wow. Are we talking person, an event? Or is that just open to my
I mean, it's
interpretation?
open ended. Like, I mean, from my perspective, like I'm looking at what you're doing. Is there somebody in particular that has influenced the way you wrestle, for instance, or the way that you talk, the way you carry yourself, or do you have a multitude of influences? Like, most of us do, don't we? We look at different people and draw from that and take whatever influence we can.
Yeah, there's probably a multitude of them. That all kind of mesh into one, the way you sort of follow them. Obviously, a very big Bret Hart fan. So you watch my matches, and actually, one of my friends pointed it out to me because I didn't even realize. But there's a certain way I do pinfall covers, and he was like, it's just like Bret Hart. And I'm like, never even really realized it. But apparently, there are a few mannerisms in there that apparently come from him. Yeah, I mean, you'll notice with doing the Russian leg sweep into the octopus hold, yeah, it's influenced by him. In terms of the sort of promo style and how I cut and this will be a weird one for people to hear actually. I always thought, despite the fact that he wasn't much of a good wrestler, I actually thought that Sid Vicious actually could do a reasonably good promo. Not
Mm.
always together coherent, but the delivery of it, where he was quiet and you had to pay attention, and then he could explode and get angry. And it seems weird to say that is where I've got a bit of an influence from, but it is. I was never really that big a fan of his, but that promo style, I always thought that's actually quite good. and the way Chris Jericho was as a heel when he feuded with Shawn Michaels, that's kind of been an influence as well. In terms of actually wrestling, I mean, I'll always say Jay because he was my trainer primarily, and you know, a lot of the stuff you see is things picked up from him.
Great fundamentals, yeah.
Yes, yeah, you know, that's where all of that has come from. Uh, Scott Jones has been a big influence as well. He's been really helpful with some of the things, you know, that have come out from a character standpoint since turning heel. He's, yeah, and where I've told you before, where I worked an awful lot of him in training. So, you know, that kind of thing rubs off on you as well. And you get influences from that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a multitude, but those are probably, you know, the main ones that stick out for me.
Some quick fire ones here, which are quite good. So we'll sort of, you know, we won't dwell on these for too long. Who would you like to wrestle in a one-on-one match that you haven't yet? So dream scenario, you can pluck anyone from the British Indies and have a one-on-one match right now. Who are we booking you against?
Wow, there's a long one to think about, isn't it? That I've not wrestled before.
You've not wrestled, yeah.
Wow. Good God. That is, wow. I just,
Probably going to say good golf for mine.
no,
You've had Frankie, in you? I know you've wrestled Frankie.
I wrestled a tag match against him, haven't I? So, you know,
You had
that's
a singles match against him as
anyway.
well.
A singles with Frankie, not with Xander, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, wow. There's not really an awful lot of people. I tend not to really kind of look at dream matches or anything like that. That sounds
Not a
really
bucket list
bad, I
man.
know. But there's, you know, I wouldn't mind having a match with Moss, Man of Steel. Um, uh, while Kamikaze was over, I would have loved to have wrestled him. I would have loved to have had a one-on-one match with
He's still
him.
here. He's still here. You never know.
Well, he is, yeah, I know. But I mean, past that, there's not a lot of people. I mean, Nathan Angel, I've not actually had a match on a show with him. I've worked with him in training, but I've not had an actual match with him properly. And as bizarrely as it will sound, I've never wrestled Jay one-on-one. Loads in
Right.
training, but we've never wrestled one-on-one on a show at all. You know, that was the closest we got was the end of that triple threat breakout. So yeah, I'd definitely that's got to happen one-on-one with him.
Yeah, it seems like that one's kind of a match made in heaven, isn't it? And it's like, and I think we all want to wrestle. Like, for instance, Rishi Ghost trained me, and then I got to wrestle him in a fatal four-way. Never one-on-one, and obviously he's retiring at the end of the year, but knowing that I've shared the ring with somebody like that and interacted with him is quite cool. You know, I feel like, you know, I always say this, like, even though we don't have the same kind of ideas of what we want pro wrestling to be, I owe so much to Rishi for who I am now and what I am because he brought me into the business. And then from that, I was able to flex myself and find my creative spirits. And that's all because of him. Because if he doesn't open the initial door, I may never get the opportunity. So that's pretty cool. Who would you like to wrestle specifically who's part of the BCD roster? If you said, right, you know what? You're not wrestling Ebenezer because he's still crying about his back because he's a giant man, baby. So pick somebody from the roster. Who would you like to face? Because there's quite a few up and comers, isn't there?
There are a few.
Which one of them deserves a history maker and the chin the most, you reckon?
All of them.
Yeah. Arts.
uh, okay, so this may actually surprise some people, but at this stage, obviously I'd like to wrestle any of them, but at this stage, if I've got to pick one who I'm like, yeah, I think I could have a really good match with this person and tell a really good story, it's actually Tornado Kid. Right now, it is. Yeah, I'd like to wrestle the Tornado Kid at the moment because, yeah, I got some ideas for a match with him. So yeah,
Everyone's favorite superhero.
not mine. Yeah.
No, no. And of course, his kryptonite is the history maker, ladies and gentlemen. Would you like to wrestle abroad before you call it a day?
I'm not actually overly bothered about it, if I'm honest.
If you could,
Um,
is there anyone particularly you'd like to face? Like, do you look at any of the American wrestlers and think, you know, the indie guys in America maybe, or you know, is there somebody like Germany? I'm sure the person who sent this is probably leaning more towards Portugal, but you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
But yeah,
So
there's a number of places you go. Maybe somebody in Japan.
I don't really follow an awful lot of the indie circuit outside. It's weird actually. I don't really watch an awful lot of wrestling at all. I watch less and less of it since I started training. You watch it differently
Mm.
than you do
Yeah.
when you're nothing but a fan. You see it totally differently. So I'm not really up together on who's around on the indie scene. I don't really have this massive desire of going abroad that comes along with the whole, well, like I said earlier about the stage I'm at in life. I'm not looking to go miles and miles to have matches. So I don't really have any kind of dream matches, of people that are outside this country that I really think of. The closest you come to it is Kamikaze, and that's only because he's been over here for a while and I've spent a lot of time with him. So that's really the only reason why he fits into there. But yeah, I know it sounds like I'm copping out, but there isn't really anybody I think of and have any desires of going all these distances to wrestle. And maybe it makes me look bad. Maybe it'll make promoters go, "Oh, well, I definitely don't want to book him then if that's his attitude." But it is what it is. I'm at that stage of life. I'm not going to kill myself. Um, I want to do this as long as I can. So if that means having to take less bookings, so be it.
Yeah, I mean, and you're not saying, obviously, if a company abroad was like, we like the look of you, we'll pay for you to come over. You're not going to be like, no, you're right, thanks, mate. Like,
No,
you're going to take the opportunity if you
yeah,
can, but
yeah,
family
definitely.
comes first, as it should.
Yeah.
Frankie would like to know how difficult the transition from referee to wrestler was.
Oh wow. Yeah, it was very weird the first time of coming out, and it was like, I'm not the referee, I've now got to make some noise and people have to react to me. As
You
great
get
as
the
it was
temptation.
being
When you first wrestled, did you get the temptation after you went for a near fall to go, two? That would have been amazing, mate. That should have
it would
been
have
your
been
gimmick at the start when you were a face. So.
that would have been a hell of a gimmick, wouldn't it? I wish I'd done that now. They're just I think it was probably just that first time of kind of now I've got to get them to actually react to me and engage to me rather than I'm just here to help tell the story for who's actually wrestling. But I didn't find it massively challenging. It was just like I said, that first time of going, okay, now that I am the focus is, I'm not here to help the others tell their story. I'm actually having to tell the story myself. So, but after that, no, it kind of just felt a bit natural, really, being a wrestler instead, because that's what I wanted. I didn't want to be a
Yeah.
referee. I
Oh.
wanted to wrestle. So I think the determination and desire probably helped to make that transition smoother for me.
Question actually I was going to throw in there just kind of on the fly was so you might potentially be a guest referee later down the line. Would you
Mm,
find it more psychologically different to turn off? Because obviously, if you're guest referee and you're BCD champion or the main event Roger is, most
mm.
likely you're not going to be play it down the middle, kids. Like you're going to be more of a character driven special referee. Would you find it more difficult then to then try and somehow steer away from doing the perfect job as a referee, which is what you always did?
Yes, actually, I think that would probably be a lot harder um, to try and referee in character. I think I'd probably struggle with that because I could imagine I'd start off okay, and then about halfway through the match, I'm calling it completely down the middle and not, trying to be not noticed and everything. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely think that would be more challenging now to do it the other way around.
Probably the most obvious answer to a question. I think I know what it'll be, but what is your career highlight so far?
Yeah, winning the BCD title.
Where do you see yourself in 2 years as a wrestler?
Oh wow. Hopefully still doing it.
Still BCD champion.
Yeah.
The Roman Reigns of
Yeah.
Dolphins. any
Um,
any preferences? Like, is there some like on a sort of like maybe twisting the question to suit a bit better? Is there anything like you'd like to have done in 2 years' time that maybe you haven't done yet?
I I'd like a face run before I have to call it a day, but I don't know as to how soon or how much further down the line that would come. That's probably the only thing that I actually think I still want to do is I'd like to have a run as a baby face again. I think I'll be better equipped for it now than I
Yeah.
was. Um, but I mean, honestly, you ask me in 2 years, where do I see myself? I'm just hoping that my body's still holding up enough so that I can still do this, and still do it at a level that I'm happy with. That's probably one of the most important things because, if my standards dip too far, I'll have to call it a day. But right now I'm good. And yeah, fingers crossed, in 2 years' time, I'm not going to be too much different. But yeah, it just as long as I'm still doing this, I'm happy.
Quite a few of these kind of tie into what we've spoken about. Do you have any goals you want to fulfill before you hang up your boots? I would assume not really. You're just kind of trying to, you know, go as long as you can. Obviously, you've
Yeah.
mentioned have a face run.
Mhm.
How about dream opponent? If you could wrestle literally anyone, I know we asked about indies, but literally anyone, mainstream the lot. If it was like, right, Rog, money's no, issue, TV's no issue. One guy who's currently wrestling that you would love to wrestle.
AJ Styles.
Now I know why you use the Bullet Club font.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it. I think I didn't see that, by the way. I know it's called Capture It on defon.com. I'm a graphic designer. I know these things. AJ Styles would be a great one. Are you worried if you wrestled someone of AJ Styles ill? I know he wouldn't like AJ Styles get a great match out of a fucking refrigerator. He's ridiculous. But it's that thing of do you think that like you could hang with his high flying style enough?
No. No, probably not.
Roger Sears with a springboard tope con halo. Lucha,
No,
Lucha, Lucha.
yeah.
Lucha says.
No,
I want to see
I
it now.
probably couldn't. But yeah, you just that would be the dream opponent for me.
You've wrestled ACW, BCD, CWP, and IWE. Is there anywhere else? I've noticed he's neglected a few there. Is there anywhere else you would like to wrestle?
Wow.
Wrestling Society. Great choice.
Right, Wrestling Society, Rumble Wrestling, I hear, has got a good rep.
You do. I genuinely like. You know me. I will say if you're not good enough to work somewhere, I think you'd be great at Rumble because they don't have enough, pure thoroughbred villains. And obviously, with Tate Mayfair's, being restricted and working more and more, I feel like you could fill a gap very nicely there. Someone like Shen Wu, for instance, who's not the most aesthetically or athletically pleasing wrestler, but gets crazy. Adam Mansfield as well wrestles very similar to you. So for me, I wouldn't hesitate to put you on. Obviously, I'm not in charge, but I wouldn't hesitate to put you on. So Rumble's quite a good choice. Is there one bit of advice you would give to any aspiring wrestlers? So if they haven't started yet, what's the one thing you would say? This is my piece of advice for you.
Um, oh wow. I mean, be prepared to work hard. It's not really advice, is it? But
I mean, it's pretty good. Like, I think a lot of guys coast, don't they? Or they sort of do the bare minimum, and you can see that. And ultimately, it's the ones who kind of go to training and do the bare minimum, or the ones who don't want to branch out or stay stuck in one school, or don't really want to kind of progress or be brave enough to walk into different locker rooms. You can see that in their style. You can tell that because they look not as good as the others, frankly.
um, yeah. It sounds weird to say it considering where my stance is. But yeah, try and get as much experience as you can and work with different people. And I know it sounds weird of me saying that, considering I've said I'm not looking to go to all these other places. It's not that I'd ever turn it down, but it's just I'm not going to go knocking on everybody's door and going, please give me a booking here. Look at all of my stuff. I'm not going to do it because I'm not chasing it. But to anybody who is a lot younger, that is what I'd be telling them to do, is get out there, make as many contacts as you can, speak to as many people as you can, seek advice and feedback from anyone that you can on any shows that you do, because it's invaluable. You never stop learning doing this, never stop learning. And people, most people you'll find out there, at least that I've dealt with, they will give you the feedback, they will give you the time of day. And you can always take something from somebody's advice, what they're telling you. As long as you act on it, that would be another key thing. Act on the advice. Don't just ask somebody for their feedback and they give you all this information. Then you go, okay, I'm just going to keep doing what I was doing before, because then what's the point in asking anybody for any feedback? Take it on board and act on it.
Yeah, if you didn't need feedback, why were you asking in the first place?
Exactly.
So the other Jay would like to know, what is your best match and why?
That I've had.
Yeah, that you've had.
No, I struggle with this in the basis that I see elements of each match I've had that I really like, and there may be some things in there that I'm like, I could improve on. So it's not like each match tops, the previous one, but they kind of merge into, this was great from this aspect, not so much this. This match was better from that aspect, not so much this. And so it's hard to pick one in particular. At the moment, I've got three, I think, that probably stand out above any others. Not so much, the triple threat for a BCD title isn't one in there, but then it does stand out in the respects of what the outcome of the match was and how much that meant to me on a personal level. But the three matches that I tend to feel are probably my best work, but for different reasons, is the ACW Championship match with Scott Jones, the match I had with Rudy Root in ACW, and actually most recently the BCD title match I had with Ajax.
Excellent choices. Really good matches. What has been the biggest obstacle for you in getting into wrestling? What was the toughest one for you?
Probably my age, I
Yeah.
think.
Do you feel like it was difficult at your age? Do you feel like people turn their nose up at you, or was it strictly just a personal thing of, oh, I'm too old anyway? Like,
Yeah,
I felt that way when I started at 33. I thought, too old, nobody's going to pay attention to me wrestling. I've done other stuff, but I'd never wrestled before. And I started training at 33 and thought, and obviously you hear these great stories about DDP or Batista getting in late, but then you also see how they looked at that age, and
yeah,
it's like that's a bit easy for Batista to say. Like, he's in his 50s now and still looks fucking insane. Like, so whereas obviously for us norms, us sort of average looking guys, that can be a bit difficult. Did you doubt? It was more a case of you doubting yourself at that age.
yeah, it was. It was more about me. Even to a sense of, can I actually, will my body be able to handle this? Because of how old I am now, I'm no spring chicken. So am I actually going to be able to physically withstand what is necessary to be able to do this? So it's more me than anybody else. I don't think I've not experienced it personally from anybody saying I'm too old or making any comments about my age. It was more me creating, I think, a mental problem for myself rather than anything else.
Fair, absolutely fair. He asked, "What's your ideal match and why?" Do you have a gimmick match? And when he says ideal match, I mean maybe he's thinking, do you have like a gimmick match you maybe like to do before you wrapping up? Like for me personally, I'd love to be inside Hell in a Cell. Uh, Desperate to do that, but that's not going to happen, is it? But maybe a steel cage match at a stretch or something like that. Is there anything in particular that stands out to you? Or are you not really enamored with the gimmicks as much as other people are?
Not so much. I mean, I wouldn't mind having a cage match. That would probably be quite a decent one that I could do. And to a certain degree, a ladder match, although I know just how much risk is involved in those. So, but those are probably the only two that I can really think of where I'm like, yeah, I'd quite fancy having a go at them. But
Gonna be hard to have a ladder match in Parkstone, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Oh, Tarantino Roberts is here. Oh, he's won.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Interesting question. I like these. These are good because they're not necessarily wrestling related. What other sports interests do you have, if any?
Football, big football fan.
Yeah,
Um,
I only found this out the other day because you never talk about it. Never talk
I
about
know.
it. Is that because you're concerned that people will give you attitude for who you support?
No, I don't care about that. I
He
think people are
supports
there.
Tottenham.
So,
He doesn't. He doesn't. He's like, no, there's just no need for that. How passionate are you about football? Like, is it something you played a lot when you were younger and things like that, or is it just mad football fan like myself?
Funnily enough, I wasn't even remotely interested in football until I was 13 years old, and we moved house. And it was the only real way I could make friends my own age was to just play football with them. And yeah, fell in love with it from then, got hooked, and yeah, played for a fair bit, quite a few years playing Sunday league football. I was never anything more than an average Sunday league player. But yeah, I'm quite passionate about it. Um, yeah, if there are times when I'm watching my team and they're not playing well, yeah, I can I can say quite a few things at the TV. Yeah,
Pizza or kebab?
pizza.
Uh, what big wrestling companies have you thought about competing in? We've kind of gone over that. How did it feel having someone make you in WWE 2K23? I noticed that was on your socials recently. Someone remade you, didn't they?
Yeah,
It's pretty.
yeah, Dalton. I was incredibly honoured by that. Very flattered. Very surprised as well when he sent me the screenshots of it. I was like, what the hell? Wow. And a really good job he did of it as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was incredibly flattered that somebody would have taken the time to do that because I just never would have thought that somebody would be that interested. So very flattered.
Yeah, he did do a good job, to be fair. I know his progress recently shared some stuff, and it was terrible. I was like, I don't know who made those, but yeah, they were just awful. Not even close. Um, Sean Riley sent in a question. How long are you going to hide behind your pet project, Towering Tyler Roberts?
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
Small in stature, big in heart, this kid.
Um, yeah, does it even warrant an answer?
Probably,
Seriously?
probably not. I mean, stay in your lane,
Um,
kid.
I
I'm supposed
mean,
to be impartial as the MC, and I know.
hiding my ass. I ain't hiding behind no one.
I'll be hiding something that good looking, to be fair. Yeah. Does have a lovely bunda, does Mr. Sears. Basically, what we're saying is, shut up, Riley, you gimp. Uh, Toby would like to know what is the gnarliest bump you have taken? Remember a
Hmm.
bump and think, Jesus Christ, I wish I hadn't done that. Had that little swanton feel that you missed on
That was
AJ.
actually that was all right,
Yeah.
actually.
I've
Yeah,
never
that
seen you
was
do
all
it before.
right.
I was like, Jesus,
Um, yeah, actually, the one, and it is entirely my fault as to why it was the landing was. I wrestled Danny Disorder in ACW, and he got me for a was it the Master Lock? What in the hell? Full Nelson, sorry, the Full Nelson Slam,
Hmm.
and he's got me. I've gone up for it and I've not properly jumped up, and one of my feet was pretty much still on the floor. And as I've come back, my elbows come down and hit the mat first. But because it was right at my side, my shoulder has just jarred straight up as I landed. And I don't know if the camera catches it, but I swore quite a few times
Right.
over
Now
that.
I've got to go back and find that, haven't I? I didn't
And
think
that
that was
that was decidedly uncomfortable when that
like
happened.
videographer for that.
No, I don't believe you were on that show.
Good. I don't have to go back and find it then. Fuck you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You might have been actually. I'm not sure,
Possible.
but anyway, that hurt like hell. And
Basically, what
there's
we're saying is Danny disorder, extremely unsafe. Yeah, got that.
no, oh my God, no.
No, he's all right. He's
No,
lovely, isn't he? He's sweet.
no, that was entirely my own fault. But yeah, that's the worst bump I've taken. But it was bad because I didn't take it properly.
That's
I
good though,
landed
isn't it?
all.
If that's the worst, you're doing okay. Like,
Yeah, I've been very fortunate in that respect.
any particular funny interactions with the crowd that you remember?
Um, the funniest thing I remember is turning when I turned heel, and it wasn't so much, back and forth. It was just something somebody said as I was about to walk through the curtain. But I just turned heel on Rusty Jack. I'm leaving out of the ring, and just as I got to the curtain, there's a woman at the back, and I just heard her go, "That was deplorable," and I had to try so hard not to crack up right before walking through the curtain because it was hilarious.
Deplorable Sears.
Yeah, I just
Brilliant.
like, oh my God. Yeah, but no, other than that, apart from the little oiks who gave me a very hard time in ACW on one
Yeah,
particular show,
nasty, weren't they?
really were
Supposed to be
brutal.
family friendly, you little cunts.
I know, right? Yeah,
Fucking
there've been a few things said that have upset my missus, but generally, most of the time, I don't hear whatever's being chanted at me. I can switch off to it enough, but
the nastier
yeah,
it is, the better a job you're doing, mate. That's how I was.
well, yeah, I think that's probably the case, right?
Yeah. Right, that sums up the questions. Is there anything you'd like to talk about before we head into the vaunted field of dreams that is the one word association?
Yeah, God,
Love word association. No, you love it. Don't worry, it'll be a little bit. I mean, I imagine there'll be quite a few people missing from the last one.
um, no, there's nothing else I want to talk about. I suppose we better get this over with, right?
He's clearly enjoying his time here at the Wrestle Plug. All
No,
right.
not
So,
this bit. I'm not.
for the benefit of those who don't know, we do word association. I will give Roger Sears a list of names and he will give me one word to describe each individual. And then if he wants to embellish on that, he can do so. But there will be no passing, there will be no sitting on the fence. There's been a few people that have done that recently. And of course, they get suitably chastised for such behavior. So, Roger Sears, we'll start off with a nice, easy one. We're going to start with your last opponent and the first man that you retained the championship against, Ajax.
Sweetheart. That's yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Really, he is, yeah.
Yeah, truly a puppy. He really is a puppy dog. Whenever I give him shit, I think just feel uncomfortable. Feel like I've kicked the shit out of a small cat or something. I'm like, yeah, even I feel slightly bad, but I still do it because he needs it. He needs it. One word to describe Sean Riley.
Passion. There's a lot of passion in that
What are you
kid.
gonna say, Gimp? That's what I would have
Nah. Now, if I'd been doing it in character, that might very well have been what I'd said.
done. That's absolutely fair.
No, he's got a lot of passion and he works very hard.
Great
He
fire, isn't he?
really
Great
puts
fire,
a
that
real
kid.
gift in training. So yeah.
How do you think he's going to do facing Taron, Tyler Roberts one-on-one at BCD Into the Fire?
Uh Roger Sears the person. I think he's gonna, do quite well, put on a good show for himself. Roger Sears the character, he's gonna get fucking murdered.
That's what we want. That's what we need. One word to describe Jackson Finch.
Raw.
Was that how he feels after he's wrestled you?
No, I can see definite potential in him. He's just got to be molded right. And follow good advice, seek good advice, and follow good advice. I can see an awful lot of a upswing for him. I can see him having a decent future. He's got to make sure that he's on the right path for it. It's just that his personal character, he can get a little bit waylaid, but I will say his attitude as of late's been fantastic. He's been very committed, really putting the effort in, and he's in a good position to be molded into a really decent wrestler. He's got to stay level-headed with it. But yeah, I've got a lot of faith in him actually that he's going to do well. I was very impressed with his showing at Boys of Summer at
I was,
BCD.
yeah.
I was very impressed with it. So
Yeah, I think the
yeah,
assumption was that Sean Riley was going to have the more impactful debut, and actually, I felt that from a reaction and from an energy level, Jackson actually delivered slightly better. Both guys for me did really well. By the way, I'm not shitting on Sean by any means, but I felt like Jackson really over delivered on that moment and really showed himself to be a credible source, a credible lad. So just keep working hard, mate. Just keep working very hard. One word to describe. Sorry, what was that, mate?
I was saying he definitely went above what the expectation was from his performance. He definitely, over delivered on what was expected.
Yeah, he's always a good. I'll tell you what, if you can keep over delivering, that's a very good trait to have as
Yeah.
well. One word to describe Benjamin Stone.
Oh wow. Just
Slight look on
one.
your face
I
there.
mean, I just no, I'm a big fan of Ben's.
I am.
I just can't think of one particular word that describes him, Vicious, it's not quite the word I'm looking for. There's just a certain
He is that.
something about his style that, get in and like ragtag and shag. It's kind of but
You just
yeah,
made his
he's
next T-shirt for him, didn't you? That's
there you
not bad.
go, right?
I'd wear a T-shirt that says
I'm
ragtag and
no,
shag.
I'm a very big fan of his work. And I do like his style. I just can't bring it all into one word that sums it up exactly. But I like Ben as a person away from the ring, and I like his character and his style. I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, he's vicious. Vicious
Yes.
is the word
Yeah.
I always use. Yeah, he's got a lot of potential. A lot of potential.
Mhm.
One word to describe towering Tyler Roberts.
Buddy.
Buddy. Wrestling friends. You two are adorable, like a couple of thespians sharing a nice glass of wine. Uh, Beautiful. Yeah, no, he's another one. Got a lot of potential, a lot of upside, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
ultimately, yeah. If you want to see him in action, check out BCD. That's where you can see him. One word to describe Frankie T.
You know what? Me and Frankie almost have a little bit of a bromance.
Really?
Whenever we see each other at shows, there's a massive hug and kiss on the
Oh,
cheek, and yeah, I really like Frankie. Bromance is the word that springs to mind for
hey,
me.
bromance, but he wasn't going to book you at the last show until I stepped in, so you know.
I know there was that. Maybe there's some cracks in the relationship.
Careful, he likes exploiting cracks. Hey, how do you like that tea?
No.
Stir that tea, honey. Um, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, he's a lovely guy, and he's just
Yeah,
such a
yeah.
sweetheart. Way too nice for this business. Way too nice.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, like comically nice, actually. One word to describe Kamikaze.
Oh God, he's one of the nicest people I have met in professional wrestling.
Yeah, and this guy's been in the
He is
business 20 years, by the way.
he's just such a nice guy. It's unreal how nice he is. He's so respectful. Respectful is probably the best word I think for it because that day of IWE, I pretty much spent the entire day with him because of how early I had to pick him up. And obviously when my wife and my son Owen came with me, he was obviously in the car and he spent time and just the kind of level of respect that he paid to my family was just like wow, how long you've been doing it, you could have, acted like a bit of, I'm a bit of a big shot, I've been doing this so long, I don't really need to associate too much. But he was so nice, such a nice, I can't say enough nice things about him, actually. But respect is the word because he was so respectful.
Yeah, yeah, a good example of how everyone should behave.
Yes. Yeah.
Trained by Roddy Piper and Lance Storm, two of the
Mm.
greatest, and still has that kind of head on him. Brilliant,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah, nothing is too much for him. Humble, wonderful, wonderful
Yeah.
human being. Yeah, I will never have enough good things. I'm very blessed actually that we've both got to work with him. Like, I'm really pleased about that because sometimes these guys they come over, they go disappear, and you never even see them. And we've been very
Yeah,
blessed that he's landed right on our lap basically.
yeah.
Very very cool. Met him at Rumble, had no clue who he was. Looked at his work, and a minute he was like, "Holy shit! Like, what a fucking guy's a star. Like, it's fucking brilliant, absolutely." And also, I love his fever pitch mentality where he wants to work everywhere. He doesn't turn his nose up. He worked at BCD, for instance. He worked at IWE. There are people who turn their noses up at those promotions. He was like, I'm not going to turn my nose up at them. That's a chance to work,
Yeah,
chance to get paid to work, and do you know what I love about him as well? At the end of every show, he'll go up to everyone. What's your Instagram? Like, he wants to make all these friends,
yeah,
all these fun. He wants to
yeah,
remember
yeah,
every single person he's been in a room with when he goes back home. And personally, I would like to keep him if we can. That'd be awesome. So,
yeah.
yeah, he'll be wrestling at All Stars next show as well, which is really cool. So their sort of debut show, the All Star training, back in that's going to be in Salisbury, July 29th. So that's definitely worth checking out. So if you want a chance to see Kamikaze, just don't know what his other gigs will be. Yeah, check him out. He's absolutely phenomenal and a lovely guy as well. Buy some merch, make his time over here just that little bit more warm. One word to describe Nathan Angel.
Potential. Oh my God, he just oozes potential, doesn't he?
Disgusting, isn't
Um,
it?
God, he's going to be a big star.
Give me a TV boy, any I think.
I can see him getting signed up by WWE very easily. See him getting signed up for it. The look, he's so athletic, but my God, is he a humble kid? He's got
Very quiet.
such a good attitude, such a good attitude. Um, he's very respectful to not just people who've been in it years and years and years, but people who've been in it at the same sort of time as him. It's just it's remarkable to see somebody so young with a head on their shoulders that seems so mature like he is. So yeah, just potential. He's got so much of it. And yeah, shoot for the stars because he'll probably reach them.
Yeah, absolutely. One word to describe Brandon Lee.
Didn't we do this last time? I could have sworn I said pretty much the same thing about Brandon as what I just said about Nathan.
Undeniable.
Undeniable. But Brandon can go really far as well. Um, he's got one of those great traits of height, that not
Yeah,
everybody
he's
has. He's phenomenally hardworking. He really wants it, and it shows in his performances. And yeah, he's another one who can go very, very far. I I wish the two of them nothing but the best. I couldn't sit and look at it and go, "Oh, I'm jealous of it." No, you know what? I really am looking forward to seeing how far these kids can go because they've got great attitudes, great work ethic. Yeah, there's so much potential for the two of them, and I really do hope that they get really, really far.
Yeah, I always use the word warm for Brandon. Like, he's just such a lovely person, like
Yeah,
a really warm, charismatic, kind human being. Like, and I love the fact that he has recognized that his potential deserves a proper platform, and
yeah,
he's openly said, like, yeah, no, I want to work for the very best, and he trains with the very best. Like, there's no denying All Star is, for me, probably the best wrestling school in the country now. Alongside, but there's some good ones as well. You got Red Pro, you got Catch 22, and the fact that Joel Redmond and the gang can train at the level they're doing at All Star with guys like Niwa and things and Bullet.
yeah.
Like, it's just that's a fast track to success. You're in the right place if you're there. Yeah, not too many. Someone's put down my name on the list. One word to describe Aeron Nix.
Lovable. Some people will disagree, I'm sure they will, but that's what you are to me, my friend. Nah.
It's my fucking wallet. It's very kind of you. Thank you. Yeah, no. Do you know what, like I've suffered a lot lately, as you know. Not just from people, but also physically with my health and stuff like that. But do you know what? I always am so passionate about people. And if they show a willingness to be kind and work hard, I will always give them an opportunity. And it's funny, actually, by doing that, that's what's caught me the most heat. It's by giving people opportunity. It's very strange, isn't it, to cop heat for being
Yeah,
Like, you know, some people have called it manipulation. It's pathetic, is what it is. Like, you know,
Wow.
I'm not going to stop helping people. I'm not going to start working hard for people, and I'm not going to start working hard at shows just because certain people don't like me. That's cool. Like, I'm not going away. So tough tits. But thank you very much. It's very kind of you. One word to describe your wonderful wife, Joe.
There isn't one that can do it. She's everything
Patience.
to me. She's my everything, you know. There's yeah. It's hard. Some. Oh, hello. Sorry, we're back.
What a beautiful. I'm not even editing that out. I just think that's beautiful.
Oh.
Ah, my wife's incredible. Whack. Just not motor. Yeah. That's probably her. She's like, shut up and do the dishes, idiot.
Right, right, yeah. Um, yeah, well, it's not enough to say it. Just, you know, she is
So
my
supportive,
everything.
isn't she? She's at all the
Yeah.
shows. You know, she's always there. So is your son Owen, who's a wonderful young man as well. Like, really, you can tell he's your son. Like, he's just like you, respectful, awesome, good-looking lad as well. He's going to be very popular with the young ladies. I can tell now. Is he named after Owen Hart?
Yes, he is.
I fucking knew it. Like
Uh,
I looked at him. I was like, he's got the long. He looks like a young Owen Hart. He does. Like,
that's coincidence, but
yeah, sure it is. Like, how much money have you spent splicing genes to ensure he looks like a member of the Heart Foundation? Going to be some really uncomfortable conversations when he's a grown adult. Yeah, great kid. Yeah, if he does watch this for any reason, thank you very much for your elbow and a wonderful lad. Help me out, IWE. Superb. Like, and by the way, if I was that much of a horrible person, I don't think Roger Sears would trust his son in my company. Like, you know, so just is. But then I'm also, you know, extremely passionate about what I do, safeguarding, you know, DBS, all that sort of stuff I have, because I take that very seriously and I take the responsibility of young people at our shows very seriously as well. So, but yeah, Owen is leading the charge. Never know, might be a wrestler himself one day as well. He's certainly shown a great head for it at training. One word to describe the main event, Roger Sears. Have we updated it from last time?
not especially awesome. Amazing. What else do we think?
Spectacular, magnificent, austere, gorgeous, raucous.
I'd probably say passionate about, you know, I'm passionate about business, about my character. Um, Also passionate about the development of others because I want everybody to do well. Um, yeah, there's not much else to say about it really, other than being a prick and saying how wonderful I am. But nah.
Yeah, I can't think of one word. I use the word excellence in the way you carry yourself, the way you work, the style, the attitude, the approach. I can trust you more than anyone else I've met in this business to do what is right by everybody, including yourself. And that's really difficult in this business because we've all got egos. All of us have, even the nicest people do. And we all want to kind of, you know, there's that narcissistic trait where we all want to kind of show out and show off what we can do, regardless of what look we have, what size we have. But you always turn up to every show and show a level of professionalism that is unparalleled in our business. So if anyone's got something negative to say about Roger Sears, you can suck my dick. Like, you can actually get on your knees and service me, because that is clearly false. It's just false. Whatever you have to say about him is negative, it is false. He is by far and away one of the nicest people in this business. And unlike a lot of people, he maintains that character and he maintains that personality. There are so many people in wrestling that you think, you know, on the face of it seem okay, and they let you down or they disappoint you or they change through time. And you are not one of those people. So we're all very blessed to know you. And I think everyone would agree that you are the perfect first champion of any promotion, much less BCD, which is well on its way to doing extremely well when it comes to business. And of course, if you want to check out BCD, the next show is July 22nd at the Parkstone Trades and Labour Club. And as I've said, tickets are £6 in advance, £10 on the door. Cash, of course, on the door is preferential. We have a number of people who work so hard at BCD and help out and make the shows run and tick by the way they do. It's a very family-run organisation, which I'm very proud of. And you know what? It might upset a few people, but Jay's doing a wonderful job and deserves a lot of love and a lot of respect for that under an astonishing amount of heat and a lot of weight from people who have things to say and want to make up their own little narratives. That's absolutely fine. But the difference between Jay and a lot of other people who have made big mistakes is that he owns his narrative and he's trying to recreate his own life and rebuild and build his own redemption arc. So, you know what? We give everybody else an opportunity. Why can't we give Mr. Knox an opportunity? That's just my opinion on the matter. Roger Sears, anything you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I think you've covered all the bases there for me, actually. Thank you very much for having me back on again. I know it's taken a while, but we've got there eventually.
I see you ducking the Wrestle Plug. That's fine, right? And I get it. I get it. No. Do you know what? Hey, do you know what? It says a lot that people would rather work for BCD before they come on Wrestle Plug. That's how bad our reputation has got at this point. That is a. It's funny because, like, you know, it's just like Wrestle Plug. BCD and Wrestle Plug are very similar in the sense of there's actually nothing going on here that's nefarious. It's just that people have their own fucking opinions, and you know, as we've established, opinions are like arseholes, and some companies are full of them. So, you know, it just is what it is. It's a lot of opinions, but you know what? It's the people who go out there and work. They're the ones that deserve to be celebrated, like yourself. So yeah, thank you very much, Roger Sears, for coming back to the Wrestle Plug. Hopefully, we'll be able to speak to you again in a year's time when you're still champ.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Looking at you, Sean Riley. You seem to have a lot to say on emails, mate. Why don't you come on the podcast? He's like fucking bold. Yeah, that's all. I'm gonna lariat the fuck out of that kid, regardless. But yeah. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, of course, BCD, July 22nd. Scan that QR code, get a ticket, come and see for yourself what it's all about. Don't listen to the hype, absolutely, but most importantly, make your own opinion. That's what we do here. We make our own opinions. So make sure you check it out. But for myself, Aeron, and most importantly, from the history maker and main event, the BCD champion, Roger Sears, thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you very soon for more content from the Wrestle Plug.